Hi, and welcome to a Life Soul podcast, where we explore personal growth, high performance, and intentional living. I am Wasim Balani, and I believe life isn't just about getting through the day, it's about becoming fully alive in everything we do. Through my journey, whether in medicine as a heart rhythm cardiologist, cycling and running, or personal development, I have learned that success isn't just about reaching goals, but about who we become along the way. This podcast is here to inspire and challenge you to push your limits, cultivate discipline, and live with purpose. Join me each week as we dive into ideas, reflections, and practical strategies to help you grow into your best self. So let's get started. Hey there, and welcome back to a Life Soul podcast. Let me start this episode by asking you this simple question. How many times have you picked up your phone just for a second, opened Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts, and suddenly 10, 20, 30 minutes or even 2 hours disappeared? And then you think, what did I watch? How did the time go by so quickly? I have to admit, I've been there a lot recently. These past few weeks, I kept watching myself scrolling, not because the videos were interesting, but because I just wanted something. A spark, a little stimulation, a moment of escape from the heaviness or the tiredness I was feeling. And one day, I paused mid-scroll and asked myself, why do I keep doing this? What am I actually looking for? I didn't get the answer right away, but the question stayed with me. It made me pay attention to my habits, to my energy, to how I felt before and after scrolling, and to the moments when I reached for my phone automatically without even thinking. And the more I paid attention, the more I realized something deeper was happening inside my brain. Something about craving, restlessness, and this quiet need for stimulation. My search for the answer eventually pointed me to one thing: dopamine. This tiny chemical in our brain that plays a huge role in our motivation, our cravings, our habits, and why certain seasons of life feels so much easier or so much harder to manage. And once I understood that, everything about scrolling behavior suddenly made sense. So today, I want to share this journey with you, not in a complicated scientific way, but in a simple, honest, and relatable way. Because once you understand what dopamine is doing behind the scene, you gain so much more control over your habits, your energy, and your sense of aliveness. So let's dive in. See, the last few weeks were heavier than usual for me. After the marathon, everything slowed down. Then I injured my back. Then I got sick with a cold. And on the top of all that, there were the usual stresses and hectic days at work and at home. Nothing dramatic, just the normal life pressures that tend to pile up all at once. And slowly, the routines that normally gives me energy started slipping away. I wasn't running, I wasn't cycling as much, I wasn't creating, I wasn't pushing myself, I wasn't working towards anything exciting or meaningful. And when those things faded, my natural dopamine, the steady, healthy kind that comes from movement, purpose, challenge, and progress, slowly dropped. I didn't notice it at first, but then it showed up in the small ways. More boredom, more restlessness, more mind fog, less motivation, less clarity. Everything felt just heavier. And as that spark faded, something else grew. The urge to scroll on my phone. Not from excitement, but from emptiness. My brain was looking for a spark anywhere it could find one. And here's the part that really changed my understanding of all this. Scrolling feels addictive not because the apps are magical, but because of how dopamine works. See, dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure, it's the chemical of anticipation. That little spark of excitement your brain releases when it thinks something interesting might be coming. And those short clips and contents are engineered to trigger that anticipation over and over. Every swipe gives your brain something new. a new sound, a new face, a new joke, a new idea, a new surprise. And the brain loves novelty because novelty once meant opportunity or danger, something worth paying attention to. So every swipe gives your brain a gentle push. Keep going. Maybe the next one will be even better. But here's the downside. When your brain gets too many of those quick dopamine spikes, it adjusts by lowering your baseline. It's like turning down the internal volume because everything has gotten too loud. And even though this is a scientific process, you don't feel it scientifically. You feel it emotionally. Suddenly, normal life feels dull. Tasks feel heavier. You get bored more easily. It's harder to focus. You feel more restless. Starting anything meaningful feels like a chore. And because you feel that dip, your brain reaches for the easiest way to get a little stimulation again, that phone. Then the loop continues. Scroll, tiny spike, baseline drops. You feel empty. You scroll again. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because your brain is adapting to the kind of stimulation it's getting. And once I understood that cycle, I started noticing it in other parts of life too, not just with scrolling. Because this dopamine loop doesn't only show up with our phones, it shows up with the food cravings as well. Think about how many people crave sweets, the candy, the chocolate, the cookies, especially when they're stressed, tired, or emotionally low. When your dopamine baseline dips, your brain starts looking for anything that can give it a quick spark. And sugar happens to be one of the fastest ways to get that little dopamine hit. And most of the times, it's not about hunger. It's not that you love candy so much. It's simply your brain saying, I need something to feel better, even if it's just for a moment. And that's why people overeat when they're in a low state. It's why emotional eating feels comforting for a few seconds. It's why half a bag of chocolate disappears without you even realizing it. It's not because of a lack of a willpower, it's because dopamine drives the craving. The brain's pleasure system gives you a quick moment of relief. And then almost immediately, dopamine drops again, leaving you wanting more. It's the same cycle as scrolling. A low state, a quick hit, a moment of relief, then an even lower dip afterward. And once you understand that, everything begins to make sense. And the real solution isn't fighting craving, it's rebuilding your dopamine in healthier ways. When I looked back at the times in my life when scrolling wasn't even tempting, I realized something important. Those were the times when I was full of purpose, when I was training for the marathon, when I was pushing myself on long cycling rides, when I was building my blog, when I was launching this podcast, or when I was working on something that excited me. During those seasons, my days had energy. There was direction. There was challenge. There was growth. There was something to look forward to. There was movements, physically and mentally. And when your life has that kind of energy, you don't crave quick stimulation. You're already fulfilled by something meaningful. And that's when I realized scrolling becomes attractive when life becomes passive, and it becomes irrelevant when life becomes purposeful. That alone changed how I approached everything. See, for a long time, I thought the answer was discipline. Just stop scrolling. Just use the app less. Just set limits. But discipline alone doesn't work because scrolling isn't just a discipline issue, it's a dopamine issue. Your brain isn't craving Instagram or TikTok, it's craving stimulation. It's craving something to look forward to. It's craving motivation. So the real solution is not removing the dopamine source, it's replacing it. When you give your brain something meaningful, exciting, challenging, or energizing, the urge to scroll begins to fade by itself. Not because you forced anything, but because you don't need it anymore. So, how do we use this science to build healthier habits? Let me share with you what started working for me. First, add novelty to your day. Because phone scrolling, for example, gives you novelty every few seconds. So you need to introduce novelty into your life as well, but in a way that fills you instead of drains you. Try something new, even something small. A new route, a new project, a new challenge, a new idea. It wakes your brain up. And sometimes that little spark is enough to shift your whole state, to make your day feel just a little more alive. Second, give yourself something to anticipate. Because dopamine fires strongest in anticipation. So create something to look forward to: a workout, a task, a goal, a moment of creativity. Even the smallest anticipation can shift your whole day. And then start with tiny wins, because your brain loves progress. A 2-minute walk, a one paragraph written, a quick stretch, anything that gives you a sense of I did something. Because tiny wins builds momentum, and momentum rebuilds your baseline. Another idea is to move your body when you feel the scrolling urge. When you feel yourself reaching for your phone, don't try to fight it. Just move. Stand up. Walk a little. Shake your shoulders. Stretch. Breathe. Because movements resets your brain faster than you think. And lastly, and most importantly, rebuild your dopamine baseline with real life habits. Instead of chasing quick dopamine spikes, rebuild your baseline with real habits that actually nourish you. Move your body, get sunlight, create something, connect with others, find purpose, rest well. These fills you gradually, not instantly, and that's exactly why they work. And once your dopamine baseline rises again, scrolling and cravings naturally quiet down. And here is the beautiful thing: your brain responds faster than you think. The moment you start giving it healthier forms of dopamine, even in small doses, your whole state begins to shift. Not instantly, not dramatically, but gently, like a light turning on inside you. For me, it started with movement. One short run, after weeks of feeling flat, and suddenly a part of me woke up again. My mind felt clearer, my energy lifted, ideas started flowing again. I felt like myself again, the version of me that feels alive, focused, and present. And what surprised me most was that urge to scroll almost disappeared. Not because I was forcing anything, but because I didn't need it anymore. My brain was finally being fed in a healthier, more meaningful way. And that's what happens when you rebuild your dopamine. You slowly come back to life. So here's the big takeaway: scrolling isn't the enemy. Your phone isn't the problem. And you're not the problem. Your brain is simply doing what's wired to do: seeking stimulation, seeking novelty, seeking energy. But you get to choose where the stimulation comes from. You can choose the quick, empty version that leaves you drained, or you can choose the deeper, more meaningful version that builds you into something stronger. Start small. Give your brain something real, something that brings you back to yourself. A run that clears your head. A walk that reconnects you with your breath. Finishing that one task you've been avoiding. A moment of presence that reminds you you're still here. These tiny choices, they don't just add up. They wake you up. They tell your nervous system you're coming back. And slowly, those small sparks become momentum. Momentum becomes confidence. And confidence becomes aliveness. And that's how you rebuild the spark you've been missing. Not all at once, but through small, honest moments that matters. And the truth is, your brain works the same way. Because dopamine, the drive behind everything we keep chasing, doesn't return through quick hits, but through the small, intentional steps and the meaningful, purposeful actions that fulfill you, ground you, and make you feel alive again. Every habit you build, every effort you make, it all adds up, so keep showing up, because the small steps you take today are shaping the person you become tomorrow. Thanks for being here again, my friend. Let's keep growing together.